favorite team this year, men's or women's?
I'll probably get in a lot of trouble for saying this, but it's been a lot of fun watching the team this year do what they've done.
In late 1990s, you took over the cross-country program. What was the vision you had for the team then, and has that vision changed since then?
And that's a great question. I think
things around here. I need you to ungatekeep your favorite places to eat here in Chico. You can pick one. Let's do a top three, maybe. You got 3 favorite places to eat here?
And I do like Raw Bar, so I'll put that in my top 3. Sometimes we'll go to Crush. I'm a big Sierra Nevada Brewery fan, so that's usually my pick.
So when we look at athletes today, and athletes maybe, let's look at the early 2000s from when you coached then, do you think that the runners today are actually better than the ones that were there back then? Or do you think that just the equipment and technology has changed so that the athletes today look a lot better?
No, that's a really good question. And to be honest...
Welcome, everybody. I'm Joshua Shannon, and welcome back to the Sideline Sitdown, presented by the Orion. This episode is going to be an awesome one as we come up on Thanksgiving break. I just wanted to say thank you to everybody. I'm thankful. My family, my friends, and athletes, all you guys around campus, supporting the show. It's been super cool. Now, we do have a fast Chico State sports rundown today. Not much has happened since the last pod. It's very minimal things, but we do have some news, a few shout outs for some athletes as well, and then an interview with Coach Gary Towne. So let's get right into it. Like I said, since last pod, there hasn't been a ton of new news that's happened in the sports world. We did have a women's basketball game against SOU. Chico State fell 68-57 to them in the home opener at Acker, and the Wildcats came out hot early with an 11-point lead. They had a strong start. Meadow Aragon, Madison Perry showed up all night. Super good performance from them. But the Raiders took control with an 11-0 run in the third quarter, and they just never gave it back. Perry led Chico with 20 points on efficient shooting, while Aragon posted a huge double-double, 18 points, 13 rebounds, and 4 assists. Chico won the paint battle, but they struggled from deep and got outscored by 14 off the bench. So the Wildcats do now drop to 1-2 as they head to Milano College on Saturday for a 3 p.m. matchup. Real quick, athletes, I was approached by my boy Weston Joyner, part of men's soccer, but that's my boy. And he has a group on campus where athletes get to talk about their faith and give them a chance to do so. I'm going to read what his DM says. He says it's essentially a place where athletes who are believers or even just curious as to what the Bible says can come and find answers to those questions while also surrounding themselves with other people in the same exact situation. And we also always have food. So if you want to check that out, the Instagram is Chico Athletes in Action. So make sure to go check that out if you guys are curious. Now, before we wrap up, quick Thanksgiving check-in this week is that built-in one timeout we all get, a chance to slow down, a chance to eat some food and hang out with our families. I don't know, some of y'all like that, some of y'all don't. It depends on the family, We get to watch some football and just breathe for a second. So whatever your plans are, I hope you guys get a moment to relax, reset, and appreciate how far you've come this year. And if things have been chaotic or stressful, that's okay. Use this break to recharge because you guys deserve it. Also, I just wanted to tell everybody that I have one more episode coming up, and this one's a big one. It's the biggest guest of the year. I've been wanting this guest since before we even started, so I'm super excited, and we're going to get ready for that coming up after break. And I just want to say that on a real note, just, enjoy the food. That's one of my favorite parts of Thanksgiving. We just get to enjoy the food, enjoy the football if that's your thing, and just remember, no matter how chaotic that your family gets on Thanksgiving, they're not as bad as the Cowboys will be on national television. That does it for everything Chico. Not a ton happening around campus in the way of athletics since our last pod. Things kind of wind down this time of year, but we do have a full season of basketball right ahead of us, and finals, and just a whole bunch of stuff that students need to worry about. So I understand everyone's super busy, but without further ado, let's head to our interview with Coach Gary Towne. Let's take the time to properly introduce our guest today. Some programs win, some rebuild, and then there's what our guest is doing right here at Chico State, which honestly at this point kind of feels like a cheat code. Decades of dominance, All-Americans every year, and a trophy shelf that probably violates some sort of building code. But the coolest part is that he's here today to break it all down, pull back the curtain on what makes his team so legendary. So without further ado, Coach Gary Towne, welcome to the Sideline Sitdown.
Yeah, I appreciate it. Yeah, it's good to be here.
Of course, of course. Now, let's start with the fun question. In all your years of coaching, what is the funniest pre-race superstition that you've ever seen?
Oh, that's a good question. I honestly can't think of anything in particular. I feel like runners, maybe we're not dialed in the same way that, baseball players are, some of the other sports out there. I know baseball has some pretty funny, routines and traditions or whatever, where you don't cross the line, or you hop over the line if you're pitching, or if you're pitching well or whatever. But I honestly can't think of any. There's probably some out there, but I'm not getting any younger, and my brain is still kind of operating, but not quite as quickly as it was 20 or 30 years ago.
Fair enough. I know. Yeah, you're right. With baseball, it's such a funny sport. Those guys, super superstitious.
Yes.
Coach, you're known for the success in the long distance running here, especially right now with cross country and what they're doing. What some people may not know is that you also graduated here as well. What brought you to Chico State in the first place, and what's led you to stick around?
Yeah, I grew up locally in Corning, so just down the road. And, I used to come to Chico to do our big shopping trips as a kid. Raced here when I was in 8th grade on a dirt track in the Junior Olympics, and, stepping foot on the Chico State campus back in those days, being a pretty modest runner myself and coming from a pretty poor background, I don't know that I ever envisioned myself even going to college and eventually getting a degree, let alone being a coach at the university that I thought was just like the greatest thing in the world, from, growing up in a little trailer in the country out in Corning. So, but I just ran through high school and ended up attending Shasta College for a couple of years, and really grew in love with running there, and got some good opportunities just to be a part of their team, because I really wasn't that fast out of high school and wasn't that fast out of community college. But thankfully, Chico State didn't have any real major qualifications to walk onto the program, and so I successfully got my foot in the door here. I have a lot of family locally and stuff, and so Chico is a kind of a natural fit. And that's how I ended up coming to Chico initially.
Well, seeing that you've been here a long time, what do you think has changed the most from when you maybe first started coaching and now? And this doesn't have to be running related. It can be anything related. What do you think has changed the most?
Yeah. I think that the dedication of the student athletes has definitely gone up through the years, the commitment level, and not to take anything away from those early years and the team when I was running at Chico. There was really a different vibe at Chico State back in those days. Things were pretty, I don't know how you describe it. There's a lot going on, and pretty heavy on the social scene, and our teams probably lived a bit too much of that back in those days. And whereas today's student athletes, I feel like, are a little bit more dialed on kind of balancing everything, and their commitment level to the sport has definitely increased a lot through the years. And they have their fun, and they Chico is still Chico, and it's a great place to develop, in a lot of different ways. And I feel like our athletes currently are kind of living a lot better balanced lifestyle. And and the results have shown that, I feel like.
You've said once before, once a part of the Wildcat family, you're a part forever. And you've been here since then. What is the Wildcat family? And how do you feel its impact when it comes to your team?
Yeah, I feel like Chico State, whether you're a student athlete here or just a student, it offers an experience. It's very unique, and it's a shared experience. Like I said, whether you're wearing a uniform for Chico State, or whether you're just walking the halls and you came to get your degree here, there's something very special about Chico and unique. And I think there's I feel like that helps a lot with like developing a culture, and through the years, our like I've been here a long time, which has been really helpful with getting to know alumni from before my time at Chico, and I've been here since the late 80s, and so I basically have either been teammates with or a coach of every distance runner at Chico State since the late 80s, and so I've really tried to do a good job of pulling the past together with the present, as much as I'm able, and I do. I nothing is more enjoyable for me than seeing an alumni from the 1980s or the 1970s or the 90s that connects with the current athlete. Maybe they live in the same city now, in Sacramento, and maybe they get together for runs, and they never overlapped here, but they have this Chico experience in common, and that's really rewarding, because I do feel strongly that we have a special thing going here, and that Wildcat family, extends, for quite some distance. So.
Are those connections that you've made, maybe with yourself, do you still keep in contact with some people? Are there any specifics that you can think of?
Yeah, I have a great connection with a lot of our alumni, a lot of the athletes that I coached in my early years. I do backpacking trips with them and their kids and their families, and I my wife and I didn't choose to have children, and so to some degree, the Wildcat family that I have coached, it's really been a great part of my life in kind of sharing their postgraduate experiences and watching them, grow into the real world and have kids, and so it's been fun to reconnect. When I'm on the road in different places in the summertime, I'm oftentimes visiting with alumni in different areas, and we're always trying to invite them to come and watch us compete when we're in their areas, and that's a nice opportunity as well to reconnect. So yeah, it's been a lot of fun.
Well, Coach, this year feels like another chapter to add on to the dynasty of cross country here at Chico. Looking at this season, what are some moments or stories that can show us why your team has been so successful?
Yeah, it's been a really rewarding year. Coming into the year, I felt like our men, we graduated some really good guys last year that were multiple time All-Americans, and we, you mentioned that we don't rebuild, and that's always the goal, is just to kind of keep things going. But we are in a bit of a rebuilding year on the men's side, and to some degree the women's as well. But so we always have expectations going into a season, but I always try to be realistic as well. And I remember going into this season, hoping that our women could continue to qualify. We have a streak of making it to the NCAA championships as a team that dates back to the year 2000 with the women and the men, and so on the women's side, we were going to be redshirting our top two runners, the twins, and so I thought, gosh, without them, the past several years we wouldn't have qualified for nationals. So this year was going to be a real test, and the women have just really stepped to the plate and just like turned themselves into one of the best teams I've ever coached, to be honest. And just some really young athletes have stepped in and filled roles, and they've really gelled well. I think maybe a defining moment outside of the championships was we took a trip out to Chicago for a really big invitational out there. 30-something teams in the field, and the women went into it, and we were just hoping to get a decent placing so it'd help our chances of making it to nationals if we didn't finish inside the top three at the regional championship. And to make a long story short, our women won the race, and they beat a field of 30-something runners or teams from all across the country. And I just thought, gosh, okay, this is not just some, we didn't just have a one-off in our first meet or maybe a second, that was a pretty good backup meet. As our third meet of the year is our biggest invitational, and when you're in those really big invites, that's when you're really tested. And they passed that test with flying colors, and then winning the conference after that and the regional title after that, that kind of affirmed kind of what we were recognizing at midseason. And the men have done an amazing job of seeing things through in a year after we'd graduated some really heavy hitters, and they've been equally as impressive, in different ways. I feel like our conference championship for the guys, like there's a lot of pressure on the line with anybody that's in the uniform at the conference championship for the men, because we had won it 22 years in a row going into this year, and we were hosting it. And I thought, gosh, like what a tough year to potentially lose a streak in front of all of your home fans. And they just stepped to the plate and delivered in front of the home fans. And to be honest, it might have been the home crowd that put us over the top, because it was a really tight battle with Cal Poly Pomona the whole way. And somehow we found our 23rd in a row. And so now we put the pressure on next year's team.
The pressure just keeps mounting down to the teams after. But that is cool, right in front of the home crowd. That's an awesome moment. And like you said, I think that's awesome that you mentioned that the home crowd may have been the difference. I think sometimes athletes don't realize the power of having fans behind them, and just that little extra boost, especially, I know it was close with Cal Poly. So super cool to see. Coach, right after our interview, you're going to recruit some students. Go look at some. When you recruit, what advice do you have for kids that are looking to catch your attention?
Yeah, I think we have to be pretty selective these days, and which is unfortunate, because I think of so many past athletes that we've had that hadn't run amazing times before they got here, and they blossomed into All-Americans and great runners for us, and we're in a situation right now where we're having to pass up on athletes with the same maybe qualities and times, and so I think we're looking for kind of a combination of ability and talent, of course, but along with work ethic and just athletes that I feel like will fit well into our system, or into our just the team culture, because you don't want you get a couple of athletes that are just too into themselves and their own performances, and they're not really thinking about the team, and then that can kind of turn the tide a little bit with like the team's vibe and their culture. And so we're looking for people that are into team success, and also people that can look at the big picture and understand that success doesn't always happen right away, and you've sometimes got to play the long game. So,
like you said, having athletes bring each other up is a big part, having that team success, that team chemistry. Now, you've coached more than 170 All-Americans and over 300 All-CCAA athletes in your career. Literally unreal. I couldn't believe it. I was reading that. I was like, no way. How do you keep producing that level of excellence year after year, even as new athletes cycle through the program?
Yeah, we pretty much take every year, 1 year at a time, and every year you're presented with different challenges, and you have a somewhat of a different team, dynamic with each year, and so we just really focus on the challenges that are in front of us and trying to maximize that year that we have, like right in front of us, and I think it's important. We have athletes that are, some of them may only, may take them 3 or 4 years to develop to the point where they get to see the light of the day in a championship setting, and so it's really important that we're doing our best to maximize that window, for the whole team, but of course for those athletes as well. And so that's why, as much as in a way it feels a little selfish to go out and like have these really long streaks of winning, and other teams, obviously when you're winning, then other teams are second and third and whatnot. But with each year, it's a different group of athletes that deserve the opportunity to win, and they deserve the opportunity to to have success and to be on those stages. And so we just try to maximize each outing and each year, and over time that's gotten us to where we're at. And to be completely honest, the numbers and whatnot that we've compiled through these years are kind of mind-blowing, because I could have never dreamed that we'd be in this position right now. And it's kind of like running in a way. you put each day of training as like a deposit in the bank, and it just takes so many deposits over time. And you have to be really patient with the process. But over time and over time and over time and over time of daily running and that daily grind, which when you're doing it, sometimes you're like, well, what difference is it going to make if I get out there and do this training run today or not? But it's those consistent deposits that really make the difference. And I suppose the things that we've kind of compiled as a team overall kind of mirrors what I just described with with an athlete's development and the time it takes for them individually to have success as well.
I love how you mentioned that those workouts or those times running compound on each other, and missing a day can lead to another missed day, and those compound as well. Mm-hmm. In the late 1990s, you took over the cross-country program. What was the vision you had for the team then, and has that vision changed since then?
Man, that's a great question. I think back in those early years, it's funny because I do think of. I think I've always aspired to have a really good team, and when I took the program over, we had made some progress during the time that I was a grad student here. The men had qualified for nationals for the first time in 20-something years, and so we'd gotten a taste of it in those years when I was an assistant here. And so I think by the time I took over as head coach, I had been eyeing like the top of our region and to some degree the top of the nation, and thinking like, okay, like I really think that we can be up there, with just some time and development. And it's funny, I remember I put up a bulletin board on the wall I'd share with recruits when they would come to visit the campus, and I remember I had this this saying on the top that said a tradition of success. I'm thinking like we were, just a couple years into having, any type of quote success that, but I was already thinking like, yeah, we're really building something here. And now I'm kind of laugh because that was a long time ago and we hadn't really done much yet. But I think I always had a vision for what we could potentially do. It's funny because we're, at the time we were a non-scholarship program, and we're the only non-scholarship conference in the NCAA for Division II at the time. And I don't even know if I knew that back then, but I think, there are just so many natural variables here in Chico that offer the opportunity to develop a really good team in our sport, and regardless of just how well you're funded or not. Bidwell Park is an amazing piece to the puzzle, and the residential campus atmosphere. There are a lot of things that distance runners really like naturally, or that they might gravitate toward here in Chico. And so I always felt like, okay, like if we get the right thing going, we could really build something here. And and I mean, now of course things have changed a bit with where we're at, but I feel like the objective remains the same. Like it's, trying to maximize the opportunities that we have in front of us each year, and not take anything for granted as far as like what we've accomplished in the past, and continue to be just as hungry, now as we were back then. And for me, being a coach that's, closer to the end of my career, certainly than the beginning of it, I think it's really important that I approach things with just as much vigor and just as much enthusiasm as I was back then. And, I'm paid to do this, and it doesn't escape me that like I'm, kind of living the dream here, getting paid to coach runners and to help kids graduate from college. And so I've always wanted to do it justice as far as, like the support that I've gotten, and trying to translate that into, helping the team the best I can.
I love that. And the tradition of success, is that still up there? You still got that saying up there?
I think we changed the billboard a little bit, but now I think it kind of speaks for itself a little bit. So we do have some statistics up and things, that, but yeah, I do. It's funny that slogan just sort of stuck in my brain, and
Like you said, the slogan speaks for itself. You don't have to tell anybody. Now, I like that you mentioned Bidwell Park because I have a question. You're a big Chico guy. This time of year is beautiful, changing colors. Today it's raining. Maybe not today. But what's you and your runner's favorite place to run this time of year in Chico to see all the beautiful colors that nature has to offer?
Yeah, Lower Bidwell Park is amazing right now. And it's such the timing every year of the most beautiful window in Chico happens to be in that window that we're preparing for our biggest championships of the year. And it works out that way every year. And, you can't help but just be, I don't know, like kind of inspired by the natural beauty around you when you're doing these tough workouts and the long miles or whatever, as you're kind of prepping for those really big races, but you're doing it in such a beautiful space. And, and even just the people in the park are amazing. There are lots of people, regulars that we run into out there that are really supportive, and they'll stop and talk and ask us questions and ask how we're doing. So the park is the place to be locally. We did do a workout in Forest Ranch on Tuesday, and that's it's beautiful up there as well, and it's really nice to get up in the hills and on the dirt roads, outside of town, so we try to branch out. But right now, the park is tough to beat.
I'm gonna throw up some photos on the podcast so everybody can see what it looks like. So let's keep on the topic of Chico and things around here. I need you to ungatekeep your favorite places to eat here in Chico. You can pick one. Let's do a top 3 maybe. You got 3 favorite places to eat here, and then you can do them in order, however you want to. But let's do 3.
Yeah. Okay. Let's see. I'm really bad when it comes to like my wife and I wrestle over where we're going to go out to dinner when we do have time to do those things, and she'll choose Raw Bar every time, and I do like Raw Bar, so I'll put that in my top 3. Let's see. I think sometimes we'll go to Crush. Is that the place downtown? Is it called Crush? Yeah, upstairs. That's a place that we'll go to sometimes. But I'm a big Sierra Nevada Brewery fan, so that's usually my pick. I like the vibe there, and I like to have a beer to unwind. And it's a nice setting, and it's just so cool to have Sierra Nevada in our backyard, and even the story behind how it was, how it became, what it is pretty cool. So my birthday was about 3 weeks ago, and I'm pretty predictable as far as where I'm going to pick to go for my birthday meal. So we had dinner at Sierra Nevada a few weeks back. But those are 3 that I'd throw out there.
Shout out Sierra Nevada, I guess.
Yeah.
Happy belated birthday, by the way.
Thank you.
Now, when you think about your growth here and athletes' growth, not times or the medals or the championships, but personal growth, which athletes' journeys throughout time stand out in your mind as a reminder of why you love your job?
Oh, man. Yeah. We've had so many really cool success stories. I'll throw 2 out there. And they're actually, one's currently on the team, and she's a currently, I guess, a success story in the making. And then there was a woman that was here, I don't know, maybe about 10 years ago, she arrived. So they're both named Olivia. Olivia Watt was from Morro Bay High School, I believe. And her vice principal of her high school reached out to me. His daughter had run for me at Chico State, or I was her coach, and he knew we had a good thing going up here. And he wasn't even coaching at the high school there at the time, but he kind of followed the program since he was a former coach himself. And anyway, he had a young lady that didn't have any cross-country background at all, nor distance running background, but he watched her training, and he knew she was a real strong leader and a hard worker, and he thought she might be a good mid-distance runner in college. And So he called me up and told me a bit about her, asked if I might be interested in taking a chance on taking her on the team because she had never run cross country before and she wasn't really a distance runner. So I said, yeah, and got in touch with her, and she ended up visiting, really liked it. And she came up and she was everything that he described, very hard worker, really sociable, and just an amazing person to have on the team. And she just worked so hard. And her background was in sprinting out of high school, basically. And so turning her into a distance runner took some time, and it took a lot of patience, on her behalf. And to make a long story short, she developed into multiple-time All-American in the 1500, the 800, and she became a top 7 runner for our cross-country program. Just an amazing athlete. She's number 2 all-time on our school's list in the 800 and the 1500 events to this day. And I just remember her journey and everything that she put into it, all the emotional energy and all the hard work. And she comes back and visits. In fact, she popped in the office last spring and we caught up a bit. And she's amazing. And her journey taught me a fair amount. And so, fast forward a couple years ago, we had a woman named Olivia that was visiting from North Dakota, of all places, and she was a pretty similar background out of high school, though she did run cross country, and she had run the 800 in high school and some distance, but was moderately successful, I guess, for a typical recruit that we might get. So she walked onto the program, and I remember telling her stories about the other Olivia and kind of her journey and where it led her. And and so our current Olivia, really took her lumps the first year. She was probably outside of our top 20 out of 25 women on our distance roster. And then last year was her second year, and so she was a redshirt freshman last year because we redshirted the first year. And cross country, we saw some glimpses of improvement, but then it was a pretty tough cross season. She wasn't in our top 10, probably closer to our 15th runner on the team last fall. And then track came. And she really started to find herself and ended up breaking through as the season went along, and ran some good times and really embraced the steeplechase event. And in her first year doing the steeple, she ended up winning our conference title in the steeplechase, which was really pretty awesome. And then this fall, she really carried that momentum through the summer and into this fall, and so. Yeah, she has been one of the women that just, a year ago, she was not on our conference roster, certainly not on because you have to be in our top 10 to make the conference team and top 7 to make regionals and nationals. And she wasn't really close to those things a year ago. But last weekend, she took 12th overall in the West Regional Championships. And a year ago, she was not in our own top 12. And now she's one of the 12 best cross-country runners for Division II in the West. And she's got 2 more years of eligibility, in cross country. She's one that's really paid her dues and is turning herself into, quite a story in the making. So those are a couple of examples.
I love that. I love that their stories show hard work and dedication, and showing athletes that may not be where they want to be, may not be at the top level, that there's an opportunity for you to go bust your butt and make it there.
Yep. And it takes time. So.
Yeah, for sure. Now, this year you've had some amazing runners like we just talked about. And you talked about earlier how it was kind of a rebuild for you guys, and that how you had people graduate and you had some runners step up. Do you want to call some of them out specifically who you thought took a big step or leap this year to get you guys over the edge?
Yeah. I coach the men's team and the women's team. On the women's side, Olivia has been a big part of our, step up. Certainly, a year ago, I think we had the twins that were all West Region, and then after that, so you have to be in the top 25 to be all West Region, And this year, we're redshirting one of the twins, Della, and but without Della, we had 6 all-region women this year, and so Olivia has been a big part of it. We have a redshirt freshman, Kira Forsberg, that she was redshirting as a true freshman a year ago, and now she's just kind of really taken some big steps forward and has been. She was top 10 in the conference individually and got all region last weekend. She's been a really big part of things. Sienna Bianchi is a junior on the team that was 50-something in the region a year ago. And this weekend, I think she took 11th in the region. Like our whole women's team has just taken a really big step forward. And then another one that's just been really impressive is Paulina Martins. She's a true freshman from Orland High School, definitely overlooked by most schools out there. A year ago, she was running pretty modest times in cross country in high school. And now, she got the Freshman of the Year award in our conference, and I would assume she was the first true freshman at the regional championships last weekend. She finished in the top 10 overall in the region. And she just stepped on to our program from just down the road in Orland this year. So, the women, across the board, they've been really impressive. And on the men's side, Jesus Villarreal is a guy that has been here for some years, and he's really improved and stepped up, and I feel like did a great job this weekend of filling some holes, and he got all region. It was in the top 20 in the men's race and was our number 4 guy on the day, which was huge. And we've got a true freshman, Jackson Stream, that we had planned on redshirting this fall, but he was running so well that we decided to put him in uniform at conference, and he's been kind of a key player for us, or a key part of things since we put him in uniform. He was our number 5 guy last weekend, which is your final score, and it was really tight. So it was really helpful to have him out there fighting and scoring for the team. So, yeah.
And when you talk about redshirting certain athletes, is there a strategy that goes behind that as to why you would redshirt an athlete that may be good, or maybe they're just not ready yet? What's the strategy behind that? Yeah,
on the men's side, it's an interesting dynamic because in high school, they only race the 5K distance in cross country, and so in college, when we get to the regional and national championships, you're running a 10K, so you're doubling the race distance, which is a pretty dramatic step up in distance, and so there are a couple of factors with that. One being the training changes, because you're training for a 10K is more rigorous, maybe, and a little higher in volume than if you're training for a 5K. And then of course it's the race itself. It takes some time to get used to racing a 30-minute race or a 32-minute race versus like a 15-minute race in high school. And whereas the women, they increase from a 5K to a 6K, which is quite a bit, more palatable, I guess. It's an easier step forward. And so for the women, it's maybe an easier transition to step in as a true freshman and have an impact right away. For the men, oftentimes we need a year or two for them to absorb the training and to get to the point where they can be effective at the national level. Which is kind of what we're always trying to do. So it makes sense on the men's side to redshirt your younger athletes, your freshmen, and you can get that year of training in, a year of experience, a year of development, and then you put them in a uniform the next year, and they're a freshman. So that's kind of the basic strategy of redshirting usually.
I'm sure a lot of people are curious because redshirting in college can be tricky, and obviously you have done plenty of years of strategy around that. Now, when we look at athletic viewership here at Chico, it is something that recently may have been a little bit low, especially for those sports that aren't played in a gym. What would you say to those students, alumni, staff who don't come to events to get them to support and show up to a program, especially like yours, that's proven to win?
Yeah. To be honest, we might not be helping ourselves in that department because we don't host an invitational here in Chico in cross country annually, and there are a few reasons for that. The main one, we have a course at the park that's a decent course, but it'd be hard to host a big invitational there. So the fact that we don't host very frequently in Chico for cross country is, it makes it tough for them to follow us directly like that. This year we had the good fortune of hosting the conference championships, and we did get we got a great turnout that day. I feel like, especially given that we had to host it on a Friday, but we had a lot of support. A lot of the other teams made it out there, basketball and baseball and soccer. Those that could make it, I feel like, were out there, and all the other coaches. It was really fun, and a lot of the community. So, yeah, our athletes compete in track as well, and we do in the spring we do host a couple of invitationals, and yeah, we could definitely do a better job of bringing more eyes to the events. And part of that is on us. We have to do a good job marketing, and that's something I really tried to do a good job of with our conference championship in cross country, was trying to market it and get the word out. And and I feel like we probably need to do a little bit more of that in track as well. So, like one of our guys, Damien, who just won the West Region Championship individually in cross country last weekend, he tried to break 4 minutes in the mile at our home meet in April last year and ran a 4:01, really close. And it was exciting watching him chase that. And so we're going to try to do it again this year, but get him under. And and so we'll try to get some people out there and get a little bit more support and really build it up. So, yeah.
Breaking a 4-minute mile is crazy. I tried to run a mile the other day to see how fast I could do it, and I don't train, obviously, and I sat around 8. So to think about me cutting my time in half, that is wild.
Yeah, agreed. It's quite a benchmark, and he went on he ran 4:01 here, but then we don't compete in the mile regularly in track. The more common distance is the 1500. But he ended up getting down to a 3:39 for the 1500, which is it converts to about a 3:57 mile. Of course, the 1500 is 100 meters short of full mile, so it's until you've actually run it, you haven't broken 4. But we know that he's capable now, and he's excited to get under there.
Well, it's possible.
Yeah.
It's possible. So when we look at athletes today, and athletes maybe, let's look at the early 2000s from when you coached then. Do you think that the runners today are actually better than the ones that were there back then? Or do you think that just the equipment and technology has changed so that the athletes today look a lot better?
No, that's a really good question. And to be honest, there's been a huge surge in performance in our sport, even since COVID. In fact, we went into the COVID layoff, and cross country is kind of hard to define because courses change and conditions change. You might be on the same course, but it could be really muddy, one year and perfect conditions the next. And so comparing times in cross country is a little, I don't put a lot of stock in time in cross, but the track is the track, and the times that it took to get to the NCAA championships in track before COVID versus the times that it's taking now are very dramatically changed and shifted. And even people that have been around the sport as long as I have are kind of trying to figure out exactly what's happened. I think some of it is the shoe technology has definitely increased and gotten better, but then there's just so much shared knowledge of training now, with just all the different apps and stuff, training apps. So you have high school kids and high school coaches and college coaches that can follow professional athletes in their training on a daily basis. And so there isn't a lot of stuff that's hidden anymore, and there aren't coaches out there doing their own thing that are that are producing amazing results. Like if you're having good results, and then people on the outside generally have an idea of like what your daily routine looks like. And I think more and more coaches are implementing really good training at all levels, and so the times out of high school are becoming very fast. And there's a bit of a trickle up effect, I think, that's been happening. So yeah, we're definitely, athletes are running faster now than they were in the early 2000s. There have been, adjustments in training. We don't do the exact same training that we were doing, in the year 2000 or the year 2010. Like we've adjusted with some of the new advances in training. But yeah, it has been interesting, and the bar is being raised, and so we're just having to go with it and to continue to be viable at the NCAA level. So.
Alrighty, Coach, before I let you go, we have a little sideline sit-down tradition. We always play a game with our guests before they leave. Today, I have a game called This or That. I'm going to give you two options, and you just pick this or that, and just maybe a little insight, short story as why you chose that one would be awesome as well. Alrighty, Coach, first up, early morning practice or a late afternoon run?
Early morning practice. Probably because it's nice to get that work done early, and then you have that underneath you and behind you. So whereas if you wait till late in the day, then you feel like you're kind of procrastinating a bit.
A tournament in the cold or a tournament in the heat?
Oh, definitely the cold. Yeah, like racing in the cold. In our sport, the cold is much easier to deal with than the heat, for sure.
I agree. I remember playing in high school. I always wanted it to be cold. I mean, you're doing something that's making your body heat up. So why would you want to be in the heat?
Exactly.
All right. So we have the stress levels of coaching men or the stress levels of coaching women. Which one do you think is like lower for you when you're coaching?
Yeah, I think honestly they're pretty equal. Yeah, I would say they're equal. So as far as I'm always I don't know, like I'm a little too irritable on race day, so much so that I don't know, I have to call myself out a little bit, and just because we oftentimes have a lot of alumni and friends at meets, and I don't feel like I'm all that fun to be around until everything's done. But then I think like, okay, if it was a basketball coach on the sideline and you had a bunch of alumni sitting next to them, during the game, they probably wouldn't be like, hey, like, how's it going? So I think I'm equally stressed out until everything's all done.
You got that coach mode, flip the switch. Like, I'm a coach right now.
Exactly.
All right. We have cross country season or track season?
Oh man, they're both really rewarding. I guess I would say cross country because the team element is really pretty awesome. Like the team scoring, in the championships is really a lot of fun to work toward, and it's really rewarding.
All right, we have a rainy run like today. It's raining outside pretty hard. I don't know if it still is, but a rainy run or maybe a run when it's dusty outside.
Oh, the rain for sure. Yeah. The rain's not too bad. And once you're out there in it, after a while, you just don't even notice it. Your skin does its job, and it's, it has its own beauty. So I got my bike ride in this morning, and it was pouring rain, and there were a few moments where, I was annoyed, but that was more from the wind than the rain. So the rain's not too bad.
Yeah, the wind is a pain. I do like a rainy day, though.
Yeah.
There's something calming about just a nice rainy day sometimes.
Yeah.
So you said you love Sierra Nevada. So post-run burger or taco?
Taco for sure. Yeah. I love Mexico. I take a lot of trips down there. My wife has family down there, so there's nothing better than a good taco de pescado.
Favorite part of Mexico, maybe?
Oh, favorite part. Gosh. Playa Marhuata, it's a little town in Michoacan that we visit maybe every other year, every third year. Just such a beautiful place on a little hidden town on the coastline of in the state of Michoacan, and beautiful little village. You can rent a cabana overlooking the Pacific Ocean for like $25 a night. It's just you can't beat it.
$25 a night is really cheap.
It's amazing.
Okay, I'm taking your advice. Maybe I take a spring break out there or something.
Yes.
I don't know.
I would highly recommend it. Yeah.
Okay, last question here for this or that. Favorite team this year, men's or women's?
Yeah, that's a tough one. I'll probably get in a lot of trouble for saying this, but it's been a lot of fun watching this women's team this year do what they've done. And putting me on the spot. I'll probably get in a lot of trouble for saying this, but it's been a lot of fun watching this women's team this year do what they've done, and they've been incredibly consistent. And I as a fan of the sport, man, it's been really fun to watch them. And not that the guys haven't done some great things. I love this men's team, but this year's women's team is quite a story in the making, and so much so that I've had a lot of alumni and people from the outside. They're just like, what in the world is going on with this women's team this year? And in a good way. And so it's been really fun.
We love that. Men's nationals coming up. That could be your time. I mean, maybe get you a national, and things could sway the other way.
If we win a national title, that'd be amazing.
What do you think is the best part about coaching both teams at the same time? I know it's a lot on your plate, but what's your favorite part, or something that you just think makes that so special?
Yeah, I know. I have a pretty unique opportunity there. Sometimes I forget that I think I'm the only coach in the department that coaches teams in both genders, although Oliver, the head track coach, does as well. But no, it's really rewarding. And I was thinking about this on my bike ride this morning. I feel like the two teams that we train together for the most part, and they're very interconnected as far as like we're just one big family out there doing our thing. And I've always seen that one team can inspire the other, and I was thinking about we might have been fortunate that the women raced first at regionals, because the women went out there and just smashed their race, and the men knew what the women had just done, and it was the women just dominated the competition, and I think that the men, they have pride, and they see what the women just did, and they're like, all right, we've got to back this up, and we've got to get it done. And I've got to think that the women's performance played at least a small role in how well the men did, and through the years, I think that's been the case from both sides. Like, we've had a lot of women's teams that I think may have been a little under like they didn't have quite as much talent on the team, but they found a way to win because the guys were winning consistently. And I feel like each team inspires the other oftentimes.
Goes back to that saying that if you surround yourself with people that are better than you at whatever you're doing, you elevate to their level.
Oh, totally. Yeah, agreed.
And I'm sure in running, it's just the same, like you said. Ladies and gentlemen, there it is. You just heard from the man who's been winning in Chico since flip phones were cool. 22 straight CCAA titles, 25 straight NCAA appearances, and enough trophies to fill Bidwell Park. He's got more wins than Seattle's got Starbucks, and more Coach of the Year awards than I have celebrated my own birthday. Not to make you feel old, Coach.
Thank you.
Gary Towne isn't just a coach. He's a dynasty in motion, a Wildcat through and through. Coach, thank you for joining the Sideline Sit-Down today and for showing the world how winning is supposed to look. Now, I got you a couple gifts here. Let me grab them. I have you an Orion mug because we are presented by the Orion with school. And then, of course, a little thank you card. You don't have to open it now, just later, for thanking you for coming on the show. And right now, the stage is all yours. The camera's right there. Shout out anything you want and let the people know what's coming up.
I appreciate it. I think more than anything, I'm just really proud to be a part of the Wildcat family, and always have been. I grew up in Corning, and school spirit was everything in Corning. They just really emphasize like having pride in your in the school and what you stand for. And I did various sports in high school, and I just took that school spirit and pride and brought it to Chico, and I've it's just been such a pleasure to have the opportunity to work here. And and to be a part of what we have, and a part of a great department and a great university. And nothing better than running into Chico alumni out in the wild, and just kind of sharing the stories, and it's been great. So I am just living the dream.
Coach, national soon. Good luck. And like I said, thank you again for coming on the pod, and have a great rest of your day.
Thank you. Appreciate it.